And hello, everybody. It's a Monday edition of The Bullpen with Adam the Bull. It is Monday, August the 22nd, 2022, 8/22/22. I don't know what that means. But anyway, we are done with preseason game number 2. The Browns lose. Oh, no. How will we survive a preseason loss? But did we learn anything? Were there key injuries? Is Cade York going to make every field goal when it comes to the regular season? And can we just get to the regular season already? Please get us there. We got 3 weeks to go. But it'll happen. It's coming. Only one more preseason game to make it through. Plus, the Guardians weekend ends with an unplayable field. That and more coming up in the bullpen with Adam the Bull.
Podcast is not for the faint of heart.
And I do think it's time for the Browns to move on.
It's not for those who ride the fence.
He's proven nothing.
But if you're looking for someone who tells it like it is about Cleveland sports,
everybody does fandom their way.
You've come to the right place.
I don't think he's any good.
It's time for the bullpen with Adam the Bull.
All right, here we go. Bullpen time on a Monday, and the Browns, what was the final score? 21-20. I don't even care. Nobody should care. Browns, here's what you saw from the game. Again, I take everything with a grain of salt in the preseason. You look at Jerome Ford's numbers, 9 carries, 31 yards. That's not impressive. I did like what I saw from him. I thought Josh Dobbs played well. He was 14 of 20. I don't want to get him in a nice rush. I don't think it's the best idea for him to be like diving into 2 tacklers in a preseason game. I appreciate the effort. I don't think that's a great idea when he's going to be their backup quarterback. Josh Rosen is what he is. He stinks. There's no reason for him to be on this team. The Browns have such great depth at running back and other places like the defensive backfield that I don't think they need to keep 3 quarterbacks. I think you're going to have Brissett and Dobbs, and that's it. There's no reason to have Josh Rosen on this roster. A replacement for him could be found if you needed to find one, if Brissett got hurt or whatever, Dobbs got hurt. I thought David Bell did a nice job. He did have that one drop. He talked about it here in Footsteps, and he knows he's got to make that play, and there's no doubt about it. We need, David Bell was brought in here because he was productive, good hands, good route runner. He's not a blazer, not running, he's not a huge speed guy. I thought he looked good, but he's got to catch all 4 of those. We need these guys to put it away. And David Bell has an opportunity to step up into that number 2 wide receiver role because nobody has proven anything in the league. Donovan Peoples-Jones and Anthony Schwartz, and Peoples-Jones didn't play, but there's an opportunity to somebody to grab that number 2 wide receiver role. I think David Bell's got a shot. Again, the 3 catches he made, they were nice plays, nice routes. The 4th one on a 3rd down play, which led to a field goal, he's got to catch that. He said it. He knows it. I like that he acknowledged that and didn't just blow it off. Defensively, honestly, nobody really stood out to me in particular. I did not like how they played defensively, but I don't want to get carried away. I thought offensively they're pretty good, especially with the first team in the game, which is not really the first team. It's more like the 3rd team or the 2nd team in some cases. Offensive line did a good job protecting for Dobbs. It felt like he wasn't touched at all in the first half. And I don't think he was sacked. No, in fact, there was no. Oh yeah, the Browns got that 1 sack late in the game, but there were no sacks by the Eagles defense, and the Eagles got a good pass rush. However, as we know, much like with the Browns, there were no key starters playing in this game. The Eagles ran the ball a million times. Gardner Minshew did a decent job for them, and they made that nice touchdown throw from Reed Sinnett, who I don't even know who the hell he is, and that Devin Allen made that nice long catch. But so in the end, it was nice to see the second team offensive line. Josh Dobbs done a nice job as the second quarterback. I think Ford and Bell have stood out over these couple of preseason games. Anthony Schwartz got involved with the reverse, and he he caught 2 of his 3 targets this game. And so I think another and then for special teams, Cade York makes 2 or 3 field goals. He makes 50, how long was that kick? 50 yards. And he makes the chip shot field goal. Then he misses the 55-yarder. He had the leg. He's got to make those kicks. If we drafted Cade York to match up with the elite kickers of this division, he's got to make that kick. So it's the preseason. He's got a big leg. I think he's going to be a really good kicker, but we need him to. I don't care how far it would have been good from. I don't want to hear, well, if it was another 2 yards, he would have made it because it would curve back in. No, that's not good enough. It's the preseason, so it doesn't matter. But in the regular season, he's got to make that kick. If you drafted him to match the great kickers in this league, well, those kickers make almost all their 50-plus yard field goals. I think he will. I'm just saying he's got to make it. I'm not going to give there was some people excited that he had a big leg on a missed kick. I'm not excited about that. All I care about from a kicker, I don't care how many yards he would have had it from. Make the field goal. That's it. I think he will. I do believe it in him. I think he's going to be a really good kicker. But in the end, I don't care how big his leg is. I care does he make the kicks. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters for a kicker. Make the kicks. I am concerned about the return teams. I kind of poo-pooed, I think, a little the Jakeem Grant injury a few weeks ago, but I think it's a big loss. The Browns have been terrible at returns. They finally went and got a guy who's good at that, and he gets hurt, and the returns and not pretty. Their decision making to take it out of the end zone is head scratching over these first couple of games, and has been the last few years. That one punt return, I can't remember who was returning that punt where he almost touched the ball. And he just got lucky, jumped. These guys got to catch the ball. If you're a punt returner, you can't let it bounce and then roll towards the end zone. You got to catch the ball. You got to be confident. We can't have guys jumping back out of the way at the last second. So I don't like that. I'm very concerned about their return game. And it's been a continuous problem that you thought you finally solved, and now you haven't. So now they got to find another answer. I don't know what it is. I don't know who it is, but they got to figure it out. But overall, again, as I said last week, the preseason is about preparing to play in the regular season. The statistics don't matter. Don't get injured. You want to put your best foot out forward. I get it. But I can't get too crazy about Josh Dobbs. I can't get too crazy about Ford. I like what I've seen from Ford. But I'm not going to go nuts. Because you're playing against backups, you're playing against third stringers. So take from it what you will. It's about preparing for the season. It's about battling for roster spots. I think Mike Harley Jr. is making a case to make the roster. But will he ultimately? Who knows? I don't know if Johnny Stan. I would be interested to see if they go with a fullback because they are so loaded at running back. And by the way, that takes me to another thing. Stop with the Kareem. And now maybe I'm wrong, and Kareem Hunt will get traded. But to me, all these trade rumors of Kareem Hunt to me are stupid. If I'm the Browns, there is no way I'm trading Kareem Hunt. Now, next year, when Ford's got more reps under his belt, and I got Deshaun Watson for a whole season, maybe I don't bring him back as a free agent, but I have the offseason to deal with that. With 3 weeks to go, the Browns play their first game 3 weeks from yesterday. With 3 weeks to go before the season, with a backup quarterback playing the first 11 games of the season, I'm not trading away and weakening my biggest strength. If the Browns are going to have success, it's going to be on the back of the defense and the running game. They're not lighting it up in the passing game. You can kid yourself all you want. Jacoby Brissett is a backup quarterback, and they're not winning with him putting up huge offensive numbers. They're going to win by running the ball. Now, when they play better competition, after the first few weeks, when they start playing Cincinnati and Baltimore and some of these other good teams, the Chargers, yeah, he's going to have to do a little more in those games. I get it. But they are going to be very reliant on the running game. So why, in a season, when you're going to get, what are you going to get for Hunt in return? A mid-round draft pick? Another guy to battle for the third or fourth wide receiver spot? No thanks. I'm not trading an elite running back, and that's what he is. He's not good. Kareem Hunt, like Nick Chubb, is an elite running back, and he is my second most reliable pass catcher, in my opinion, behind Amari Cooper. I trust him more than any of the other receivers. I trust him more than any of the tight ends, and obviously more than any of the other running backs in the passing game. I am not trading Kareem Hunt. I'm sick of the trade rumors. Again, if I'm wrong, and maybe I am, I still feel like it's crazy, and I don't think the Browns will do it. I think it would be nuts to trade Kareem Hunt. Your passing game, you're hoping can be adequate. Hoping it can be adequate before Deshaun Watson comes back. Your running game has got to be great. And as much as I like what I've seen from Ford or even Felton or even Dearness Johnson, I don't know what those guys are. Dearness Johnson's a nice back. Felton and Ford have barely played. Ford hasn't played, obviously, at all in the regular season. But what I know is I got two studs, two superstars. I'm one of the few teams that could say they've got two great backs in the backfield. Why on earth would I ever mess with that? When I'm going to, especially in a year, or at least 2/3 of a year, that I'm going to rely on my running game so heavily. It would be nuts in my mind to trade Kareem Hunt. Absolutely bonkers. And I don't understand it. I yesterday on the broadcast, I think Chris Rose kind of alluded to maybe they can make a trade with the Eagles because the Eagles could use a running back. Who are we getting? What wide receiver are we getting from the Eagles that you'd want to make that trade? I don't understand. The Eagles have two wide receivers that are good, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They're not trading those guys. If you told me I could get one of those two guys, yeah, sure, I'd trade Kareem Hunt. But there's no way that's happening. If I get a superstar wide receiver, okay, then you got me. But that ain't happening. So I'm not trading him. What am I trading him for? Jalen Reagor, who's done nothing in the league in 2 years? Zach Pascal? I mean, where's this great depth that Philadelphia has at wide receiver? They got a great player in A.J. Brown, who they got from the Titans in a trade, and a good young player in Devontae Smith, who was good as a rookie. The rest of their wide receivers are nothing with nothing. They're just guys. I'm not trading Kareem Hunt for those, and none of those. Reagor, Watkins, Ward, Pascal, Deion Kane. I'm not. No, thank you. You want to trade me Devontae Smith? Fine, we got a deal. There's no way on earth the Eagles are doing that, so I'm not trading Kareem Hunt. There's nobody that the Browns could trade Kareem Hunt for that would have a bigger impact on this team than Kareem Hunt. Nobody. Because anybody that could have a bigger impact, a team's not trading him for Kareem Hunt. So stop the nonsense. I think the Browns are making a huge mistake if they move on from him. And I don't, at least this year. Again, at the end of the season, maybe I could see it. Not right now. All right, we come back, got some more thoughts on the Browns heading towards the end of the preseason. I got some thoughts on Jacoby Brissett and Deshaun Watson not playing yesterday. A little more on whether the Browns should keep three quarterbacks or not. Some more thoughts on the defense. And then I'm going to get to the Guardians weekend as well. Of course, I want to remind you folks that today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. One more thing before I take the break. I mentioned it briefly, but about the defense as a whole, I am concerned about the defensive tackle position. There is nobody that has stood out to me in camp, nobody that has stood out to me in the preseason. This was a position they kind of ignored. You know, Jordan Elliott was the third-round pick 2 years ago. Taven Bryan was a guy they signed from Jacksonville this offseason. You know, I know everybody's excited about Perion Winfrey. I don't know how good a player he is. Just because he had a very exciting hype video to come into the Browns, he's a fourth-round pick. He hasn't stood out on the field. Neither is Tommy Togiai, last year's fourth-round pick. I've got major concerns about their defensive tackle position. And if you watched our first post-game show yesterday, Mike brought it up. ESPN has the Browns defensive tackle group ranked as the worst in the league. I mean, they don't have a single defensive tackle you can trust. And now I'll give guys an opportunity. Perion Winfrey, Tommy Togiai haven't played much. Jordan Elliott's been banged up some, so maybe they'll come around. But that's a huge concern right now. Huge concern is that defensive tackle position. All right, more on the quarterbacks and the Guardians coming up. But first, I want to tell you that betonline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They've got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action. A BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay. So we talked about this in the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show this week. I don't love the fact that Deshaun Watson didn't play yesterday. I don't like that Jacoby Brissett hasn't played in the preseason. I guess they're doing this to avoid injury, especially in the Brissett case, because if he gets hurt, obviously now you're starting Josh Dobbs at the beginning of the season, a guy who's never started a game in the NFL. But Jacoby Brissett while he's a veteran, he hasn't played a ton. He's never played for this team. He's not a proven quarterback. Doesn't he need some reps? I don't understand. I mean, we had Patrick Mahomes play the second game of the preseason, a guy who probably doesn't need any reps. So this is kind of baffling to me, the way Stefanski has handled this. To me, it's a real head scratcher. I would assume he's going to play in the third and final preseason game, but I don't know. Maybe they're just not going to play him at all. Because I feel like you can't live in this space of being worried about you guys getting hurt. I hate that. I understand in certain situations, right? If you like Tom Brady, I don't need him to play in the preseason. Joe Burrow had an appendectomy before the season. If he doesn't play the preseason, I get that. But I can't be afraid of guys getting hurt. I don't want to live in that space. I don't want to live in my fears. I hate that, but especially with a guy who's new to the team. Like, I don't need Nick Chubb to play. I don't want him wasting reps in the preseason. He knows the offense. He's a great player. There's nothing he can do. But Jacoby Brissett hasn't played in a game behind this offensive line, hasn't played in a game with these wide receivers, hasn't played in a game with these coaches. I'm not saying he's got to play a ton, but I'm surprised he hasn't had any game reps. But in the end, I guess it won't, hopefully it's not that big a deal. And as I said earlier briefly, and I'll reiterate, the Browns should not waste a roster spot on a third quarterback. Josh Rosen's not any good. I could find a guy on the waiver wire. I could find a guy to add to the practice squad that's as good as Josh Rosen. He stunk yesterday. He shows you nothing. Even that one long completion he had, the receiver made a nice catch. Joe Thomas pointed out that he didn't hit him, in the right spot. Josh Rosen's not any good. I think we know this. I embarrassingly thought he was going to be good out of college. He's horrible. To me, there is zero reason to keep him here. I don't think you need to keep. The only reason to keep a third quarterback in the NFL is if it's a guy you think has future potential and you're afraid to lose him to another team. That's not the case with Josh Rosen, so there's zero reason to keep him on this team. There is zero. The roster spots are precious. Don't waste one on a third quarterback that you'd hate to even play if you had to. If it got to the point where you'd need Josh Rosen to play, the season's probably lost anyway. So don't waste a roster spot there, especially when you have such great depth at running back and defense. I mean, you got 10 between running back and defensive back. You got like 14 to 16 players you want to keep because they're loaded in those areas. And it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of weeks as players get cut into the Browns. Maybe try to get aggressive. Do they make a trade? Do they look for another veteran defensive tackle? Talked about that position earlier and the lack of veterans there and the lack of any proven guys at defensive tackle. And is that an area they get aggressive? Whether it's remaining free agency or more likely trade or guys who are cut. Same thing at center. Ethan Pocic, who has started for the Seahawks, apparently going to be the starter there. It doesn't look like, I think if they were going to go after J.C. Treader, it would have happened already. But, their backup center right now is an undrafted free agent. Will they dive into free agency? Will they dive into the cut market? Will they dive into trades in terms of the center position as well? I'll be curious to see what they do. But as of now, it looks like, I don't know that you're getting a significant upgrade in any of those spots. So the roster is what it is. Besides center and defensive tackle, I don't have any major concerns. Obviously, we wish we had a better quarterback for the first 11 games. But they're moving forward there. I can live with it. Would I like to see another proven wide receiver on this team? Sure. I think, again, that's something they would have done already. Obviously good at running back. I like, the offensive line I'm fine with, besides center. Defensive end, you're in good shape. Linebacker, I think, might be better than we initially thought. I think JOK is going to be a monster this year. The secondary should be great. I think the kicker's good. I'm fine with the punter. The returns are an issue. But, I mentioned a few issues there. Every team's got some issues. So while I may be concerned about the second wide receiver, the center, and the defensive tackle spot, I could go to every team in the NFL and point out a few spots like that where I'm like, well, what are they doing there? Right? I could do that everywhere. I could go to the Bengals and say, well, what's their left guard situation? Who do they have on the outside at linebacker? And even their cornerback depth is an issue. Their second-round pick, who was a corner, is hurt. So their cornerback depth is an issue. And even, their offensive line stunk last year. Now they upgraded it, but their right tackle, Lyle Collins, who they signed from the Cowboys, has been away from camp. I don't know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season. So they might still have some issues on their offensive line. Their depth at running back, Joe Mixon's great, but they don't have anybody else. So, and I can just go through every team and do the same thing. So even though it gets you nervous, well, they have this guy, every team's got a few spots. No team's perfect. There's not a team in the NFL you can say, oh, they got no holes. I'm not worried about anything. Not the case at all. All right, take another break. When I come back, I'm going to switch it up and talk some baseball. Get to the Guardians weekend. It was supposed to be a 3-game series with the White Sox. It ends up being a 2-game series. I'll get to that next right here in the bullpen. All right, so weekend got off to a good start for the Guardians. Beat the White Sox 5-2 on Friday. Talked about that being the key game this weekend because it was the one night of the 3 games where they had a significant edge in the rotation with Tristan McKenzie going against Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn, who was injured to start the season, has struggled this year. And game got off to a bad start with McKenzie as he gave up 2 runs in the first inning. But then he was just shut it down after that. After giving up the 2 runs in the first inning, he really did give up nothing after that. Ends up going 7 innings. Just those 2 runs. He had 14 strikeouts. He's been awesome. 3.11 ERA. He's actually struggled in 3 starts against the Twins. I tweeted out this stat. He's got like almost a 9 ERA in his 3 starts against the Twins, and then against everybody else, he's got like a 2.40 ERA. He's really been great. He's not winning any Cy Young or anything, but he's been an all-star caliber pitcher, no doubt. So good win for the Guardians on Friday. Clase got another save in that one. Then in Saturday's game, they just couldn't get anything going offensively. Couldn't get a big hit. Obviously, I mentioned going into the weekend, I think both on the podcast and on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, that Johnny Cueto, the veteran pitcher who seemed like he was out of baseball, has been great. And Shane Bieber pitched fine. It wasn't his best performance, but he pitched a solid game against the White Sox on Saturday. But Cueto, who was 1 out away from ending the game, 5 hits, 1 walk, no runs. Doesn't strike anybody out anymore, but he's just a good, savvy pitcher. He's reinvented himself as a veteran here with the White Sox. He's done a great job. It was a good win. And then yesterday, as we all know if you live in the area, we got a ton of rain in the morning. And the game was supposed to start at noon, and they ended up canceling it at I want to say it was after 3 o'clock or around 3 o'clock. It's shocking to me because it stopped raining 1 o'clock, I think, or somewhere around there, at least by my house, which is, what am I, 10 miles west of the stadium, maybe? And it surprised me they couldn't get the field in shape because it stopped raining. I don't know what happened. You think a major league field would, when it stops raining, would be able to get the field in shape, but they couldn't do it. And so they ended up canceling the game, and they'll make it up here. I don't think they picked the makeup date yet. So we leave the weekend with them splitting a 2-game series in the end. And so the Guardians are still in first as we head to the Monday. So the Twins losing and the White Sox, splitting with the Guardians. So in first place, 64-56, 8 games over 500. And now what? 110, 120, 42 games to go in the season. They really need Jose Ramirez to pick it up. That injury has been, I'm sure, been a factor, but he needs to pick it up here down the stretch. They need him. They need him to lead the way for some of these young players who have been great, but they need him to pick it up down the stretch. Now they head out on the tough road trip. They're off today. They're I don't know, maybe they already flew to San Diego last night. I don't know. I can't remember. But so they'll go Tuesday, Wednesday night, or Tuesday night, Wednesday afternoon in San Diego. And then Thursday afternoon and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Sunday game's an afternoon game too. So 2 in San Diego, 4 in Seattle after the day off today. Well, tomorrow's game, we get to face our old pal, Clevenger and Plesac, 2 buddies. Got into trouble together, of course, last year. Will face each other. Clevenger's actually been the worst starter for the Padres. He's been bad. Then Sunday, Quantrill goes up against Yu Darvish. Darvish, along with Musgrove, have been really good for the Padres. So you're facing some tough pitchers. Logan Gilbert's a young pitcher for Seattle you're going to face this weekend or next weekend. Robbie Ray was their big free agent signing. He's been excellent for them. So this is a really challenging road trip for the Guardians here. Really challenging. I know the Padres have had their issues. They've had some injuries. Tatis suspended for the rest of the year. He had an injury, and then he's suspended for the year for steroids, and supposedly there was a lot of guys angry with him in the locker room. I don't know, but, Clevenger, as much as Clevenger hasn't been great, he's still a good pitcher. Yu Darvish is excellent. Gilbert's really good. Ray's really good. You're facing some tough pitching. You're on the road, West Coast. It's not easy. I think, to me, I'd sign for 3-3 on this road trip. If they could go 3-3 on this tough road trip, San Diego, Seattle, I'd be okay with that. I could live with that. Obviously, you look at San Diego, they're 10 games over 500. Seattle's, I think, 10 or 11 games over 500 in the playoff mix as well. So they're 2 pretty good teams, good pitchers. Going to be an interesting week for the Guardians, some late night 10 o'clock Eastern games. All right. I appreciate you joining me as always. Please, as always, follow me on Twitter at Adam the Bull. There you go. You can check me out on Cameo, making videos all the time, fantasy leagues, congratulations, sympathies, whatever you want. Check out my Cameo profile /Adam the Bull. Check out my website, adamthebull.com. Click on the Book the Bull tab to book me for a speaking engagement, a wedding. I can perform weddings. I am certified by the great state of Ohio. Make sure you're watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Please subscribe on our YouTube page, which is where you can also find all the episodes of this podcast, The Bullpen, through the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube page. We stream live every weekday from 11 to 1. But you can watch it anytime or any of the clips anytime. Check out the Locked On Browns podcast as well with my buddy G. Bush and Jeff Lloyd. And there you go. So, and by the way, on today's, depending on what time you're listening, if it's the morning, if you're listening to the podcast in the morning, the great Tom Hamilton, the voice of the Cleveland Guardians, the longtime voice of Cleveland baseball, will join us today on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So I'm excited about to talk to him because when I was working radio, we couldn't have him on because he worked for a different station. We could never have him on, so I'm really excited about that. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. See ya.